Very tough loss for us, but we deserve give Mike and his team credit. I thought he's had a lot of close losses, and as I told my players, that's the way the league's going to be. 1 and 2 and 3 point games are all going to be that way. Malik shooting 90% from the line, goes and breaks 2 to start the way. Just didn't seem like some of our guys were with it.
All right, welcome in. That was Tom Izzo out in Happy Valley. Not a happy coach there. Talking about his team. Shocking loss last night out there at State College. And, hey, the way that the Big Ten turns. Welcome in the Mason Blue Review Afternoon Live. We're here every day, weekdays at 1 o'clock. We look for your feedback, whether it's on the show live, whether it's afterwards and comments or on Twitter or any of that kind of stuff. So stay in touch and put your comments out there. What's going on with Michigan? Well, they didn't play last night, but a team that they are going to play in less than 2 weeks there, Michigan State did play. And that was a shocking loss to me. It was on the road and wasn't the Big Ten. Shocking because Michigan State was up 14 points in the second half and lost that game. I mean, not, losing on the Big Ten shouldn't be losing on the road in the Big Ten shouldn't be that shocking, but in the manner that they lost. So, we got some college basketball to talk about. We're here on the eve of Michigan's big game in Iowa City tomorrow night. I don't mind those 9 o'clock starts, but 7 o'clock tomorrow feels like that prime time, ready to count down the minutes until they tip that one up. Big game. Michigan in need of a victory on the road. Get to a little bit of that. And then Michigan football. Who is going to replace Aidan Hutchinson and who is going to replace David Ojabo, two players that their name's going to be called pretty early in the upcoming NFL draft? Who's going to replace those guys next year for Michigan? I got a couple ideas for that. We'll watch some Jimmy Rolder highlights. He's one of the Michigan signees at linebacker, and pretty impressive video. And we've got a card or two of memorabilia to show you as well. But we'll start here with basketball before we get to some football. And yeah, last night, Michigan State losing that. I also watched Wisconsin. I was watching Duke. Coach K went out at the half, and, Wake Forest looked like they were going to pull the upset. And then they almost, Wake Forest did what would have been 3/4 court, guy in his face, like jumping baseball pass shot that hit the backboard, almost went in. A little bit reminiscent of when Butler in that championship game against Duke. Now that was a lot closer. It was a half court shot, not a 3/4 court shot, but that one did, hit the front of the rim, and Butler almost came up with that great upset. A little bit, shades of that because it was Duke, and it was a long shot. And of course, Duke ended up surviving. Then I was watching Kentucky and Tennessee go at it. You play on the road, man. You use that advantage when you're at home, like the Vols did. And you see that, it made me, think about tomorrow and Iowa and just how difficult that's going to be for Michigan. Their next two games, going to Iowa, going to Madison to play Wisconsin. They need to split these games. I mean, what are you going to say? No two ways about it. They want to get into the NCAA tournament. They'll be really up against it if they don't split these games. So, and do I think the easier one will be tomorrow? A little bit, I don't, they're going to be dogs in both. So they'll have to play like they did last Thursday against Purdue, to come up and, get a victory against Iowa. So I'm waiting for that. You are too. Indiana, it goes to show you, you just look at that final score and you look and you're like, yeah, well, you know what? Indiana lost to Wisconsin at home. Wisconsin's pretty good. They are. Wisconsin is pretty good. But you watch that game and, man, Indiana, they had a couple threes, like exactly where you want to trace Jackson Davis. The ball goes in him and he throws it over in the corner. Wide open three. Guy takes a look. No. Coming down, same thing. One possession game. Can put the Hoosiers up. They collapse on Trace Jackson Davis. He throws it out up top. Yeah, with a wide open three, can't make it. They end up losing that game by 5 points. But there you go. It gets you in a little bit. Big Ten basketball, Big Ten hoops. I remember thinking last year. Now last year it was a little bit of it being not the case because during the season with the teams in the Big Ten, it looked like the Big Ten was the class of college basketball. It looked like they had all of the teams. Iowa was one of those teams. And, it just looked like, man, this is a great year. If you're one of those teams in the Big Ten, maybe they can, break through and win the national championship. Maybe we'll see a couple teams in the Big Ten in the Final Four, all of that. And ended up not being the case, some big time upsets. And you got to validate yourself in the NCAA tournament. Michigan was able to do that. Michigan won the Big Ten. They were able to. But remember, Illinois, they got beat really early. That was a shocker. And so, the thing is that it's happening. What's happening here, it's a natural progression in sports, whether you're a Michigan fan or not. You get to the Super Bowl, and there's a little bit – the same things happens in college football. You get to the national championship game, and then it's like, wow, now we got to get into these countdowns. We're talking about 6 months away, and that happens Sunday. Pro football, it's like, all right, Super Bowl, won the bad Super Bowl. And now, here it is days later, and, I'm looking online and people are just arguing back and forth about the halftime show or if Matt Stafford's a Hall of Famer. It's like, whoa. I prefer, it's just like the change of the seasons. I prefer to go from football to college football to pro football, which are my two favorite. If I had to pick, my favorite sports, I'd say, if some people ask me that over the years, what's your favorite? Whether to cover or go to, and it's always been the same. College football, number one. Number two on that list is pro football. But when they're over, immediately throwing myself into, I like college basketball from the start of the season, but I know a lot more people are paying attention to college basketball right now. So I like to throw myself into college basketball. So yeah, starting to talk about seedings and rankings and tournaments and conference tournaments and NCAA tournaments and the bubble and the first four out and bracketology and all those sort of things. I like it. I'll get to, I see some people lining up. I like to get the feedback in. There's some things on there about, not something basketball related or football related. So I'll answer your question, Lyle, in a minute. And I saw that just popped up there. But, the thing, just a brief preview tomorrow, looking at Michigan's chances at Iowa. Iowa, they're not in the top 25. And you look at the other teams receiving votes, and if you just go through, Iowa would be ranked 32nd. We are number 32. Although some of their metrics are a lot higher than that. Michigan doesn't show up in even the receiving votes in the top 25, and I'm not here to say that they should, but Iowa ranked number 32. But you go in there, and what do you look at? Well, you look at Ken Pom. What does Ken Pom think of Iowa? Well, they've got ranked pretty high, 18. Where Michigan's 38 when it comes down to Ken Pom's rankings that anybody can access. Quick Google search. Same thing with the net rankings. That is supposed to be like the top tool that the committee is going to use. I don't know about a holy grail or anything, but there it is, the net rankings. And Iowa also, the net ranking likes Iowa. They're sitting there at 19 and Michigan's at 36. So this isn't going to be a cakewalk of Michigan going in there. You see that Iowa's not ranked. You're like, oh, Michigan can go in there and steal one. But, okay, they are ranked when it comes, if you're talking about top 25 or even top 20, when it comes to a Ken Pom or a net ranking. So, and Iowa, man, I think it comes down to being able to guard the three and playing at Michigan's tempo, which is going to be slowing it down and attacking the basket, where Iowa's going to try to get up points per possession. They're going to be jacking up a lot of threes. That's going to be the tail of the tape. More on Michigan and Iowa tomorrow. One more thing on the Hawkeyes. I did see that Joe Lunardi from ESPN in his latest bracketology talked all about Michigan and where they sit. They're out right now. They would have been in if they would have got a victory over Ohio State on Saturday. But the Hawkeyes are in right now in the tournament. Lenardi, Joey Brackett's had him as a 7 seed. So they're in. Another barrier, if you will, looking at that, thinking about the chore, the task at hand for the Michigan basketball team, going to play a team that would be in the tournament right now. All right, before we get to football, which is coming up next, and some thoughts there, Lyle asking if there's any news on Veneers and Bryson, if they'll be back against Ohio State. That's a Michigan hockey question. And not yet. And we saw that both USA and Canada were eliminated. Bad news for the country of Canada. Bad news for USA, which was beaten by Slovakia. Even though I'm half Slovak, I wanted to see the USA win. I wanted to see Canada and USA play for the gold. It's not happening, but could be good news for Michigan hockey as they could get some players back here. And I thought that they would go to the gold, and then there was a chance that they would be back for the final series against Notre Dame. I don't know. You got to see, so they're Beijing to Ann Arbor, they're coming back. And we're sitting here on Wednesday, how much time to recoup, and, would they be available for a Saturday game, not a Friday game? Do they want to get them some rest here? Is the plans already with practice with the guys that you have? I think all of those, things. It does sound like I'm beating around the bush. I guess I am. Well, I don't know the answer to that question. I was just thinking about the time and everything, the timing of it all with the flights and the games and everything. So I would say that there would be a chance that those guys would be on the ice for the Wolverines. Of course, they're trying to get that 1 seed. Just 2 weekends to go before the Big Ten tournament, and Michigan's never won they've never been that 1 seed, so they want that. I don't think they've been that 1 seed. You can check me on that if you want. All right, now we get to some football, and the question is, there's a few questions when it comes down to Michigan. I was asking the folks last night, the Maize and Blue review on the posting board, the Wolverine Den. What were the major storylines heading into spring? For them. And, I put down the obvious one, the quarterback competition between Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy, something I talked about yesterday's show for 20 minutes. And, the other thing I put on there was about the coordinators and, who's going to have the toughest shoes to fill. And then the third question that I have, biggest storyline for Michigan heading into spring 22, is who's going to replace Aidan Hutchinson and David Ojabo. Guys, Hutchinson projected to be the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. Ojabo could be a top 10, top 15. I would think, feel pretty good about him being a top 20 pick. 2 top 20 picks, number 2 pick overall. Great production and a fantastic year for Michigan. Those 2 guys accounted for more than 75% of Michigan's sack total. So, yeah, those are big shoes to fill. And the one thing, the thing immediately they think about is that it's not like Aidan Hutchinson was unknown. He hurt, he fractured his ankle against Indiana 2 years ago and, was out for the year. But, he was looked at as a first round type defensive player. And then he went out and just had a hell of a year and moved himself all the way up to, potentially being the number 1 pick, probably the number 2, whatever you want to say, top 5 for sure. I would say for Hutchinson. So you knew, that he had the goods. Ojabo in the last year, it's hard to it thinks like sometimes this happens. I don't know if it happens to you. I was going to say, like, it seems like the pandemic 2 and 4 year was like, 5 years ago. But no, it's just last year that Michigan only won those 2 games, one against Rutgers and the opener against Minnesota. Ojabo only played 26 snaps. I mean, it was 6 games, but you barely saw David Ojabo, and then he just came on a pass rusher extraordinaire, an accomplice with Hutchinson on the edges and wreaking havoc and all that. So meteoric rise by Ojabo, and is it going to have to be more like somebody like Ojabo that's going to come out of nowhere to be a star? Because is there an Aidan Hutchinson that you thought? No, there's not an Aidan Hutchinson on this roster. And so with that, we get to, some of the players that it could be. And number one, if you're going by this past season, and I think this is a good starting point, when Aidan Hutchinson didn't play, it might have seemed like it. He didn't play every single snap last year. Taylor Upshaw, mostly behind Hutchinson at left defensive end. There was one game that he did flip over and played behind Ojabo, but for the most part, Upshaw, and he missed a few games. He was behind and spelled Hutchinson. Taylor Upshaw played 125 snaps. That's pretty significant, out there. And, he comes back, and Upshaw would be a very good candidate, to be there. Now, is he a Hutchinson? Is he a Ojabo? No. But with the experience there and that he's coming back, that's a pretty good pick on you're going to start. Somebody asked you who's going to replace Hutchinson at Ojabo. Well, Taylor Upshaw. My bet here is that when Michigan plays Colorado State on September the 3rd, and they line up, that you will see number 91 at left defensive end. And then those broadcasters will say, they've got to replace 75% of Michigan's sack production. Who's it going to be? Taylor Upshaw there at left defensive end. And now you go over to the position that Ojabo had. And if you're a big-time Michigan fan, you'll know that this is correct. Jalen Harrell, he played 168 snaps there behind Ojabo at right defensive end and outside linebacker. At times, it took me a couple games because he's got the 32. I was thinking, who is this guy? It's 32. And I'm like, oh, it's Harrell. Because I was thinking, that Ojabo and Hutchinson should stay out there every time. Jalen Harrell played in a lot of games. And, the thing that stood out from me, without going back and watching every one of his snaps, he's pretty stout against the run and would be in there. I mean, Ojabo was a pretty much specialist, a rush edge pass rusher. That's what he did. And where Harrell would be in there and roam that position a lot, almost some of those games, 50-50 split, where, when you're talking about a team that wanted to run the ball, Harrell could be in there, and he's pretty good. Now, how is he, when he's going to be the man? And likely in that first game, when, they say 91 on one side, it's going to be 32 on the other. I would put my money on Harrell being the starter at the right defensive end rush outside linebacker for Michigan if under Jesse Minter. And right now we think, there's going to be some different combinations. Remember watching this season, every game Michigan wasn't in a 3-4. Some of them, it looked more like a 4-3, and a guy like Michael Barrett would be out there, and Michigan had their, traditional, 3 linebackers out there, but, it was an amoeba, at different games and to match up. But I would think starting next year, the replacements for Aidan Hutchinson and David Ojabo on the one spot, you would have Taylor Upshaw at left defensive end, right spot, Jalen Harrell. Both of those guys with the most experience, played the most snaps last year, unless somebody just passes them up in spring ball as an exceptional summer phase and fall camp and is able to get into, that starting lineup. Certainly some guys that would be in the 2 deep and some candidates for that. Let's get to those. And you go to, that is not Aidan Hutchinson's picture, or it's not, what's my man's name there? Zach Shaw. It's not Zach Shaw either. That is Braden McGregor. He looks a lot like Shaw and it could pass for Aidan Hutchinson. Guys probably come up saying, hey, Aidan, can I have your autograph? And he'd be like, get out of here, kid. Man, my name's McGregor. No, he wouldn't do that. He'd say, hey, I'm the next Aidan Hutchinson. And, no problem looking like him. Can he play like Hutchinson? I remember reading some quotes. He's like, look, it's a great situation to be in. I follow around a guy who plays my position and is playing it at the best you can in college football. Now, being able to learn the ropes or being shown the way by Aidan Hutchinson, who did it the very best at Michigan. That's got to be a benefit for McGregor, who, did get sprinkled in there, but, and he flipped around a little bit from, backing up Hutchinson to sometimes being that rush linebacker. Not a hell of a lot of snaps there, but in 6'5", 265, he's got a lot of those same measurements there. If you're looking for that guy that could make that big time jump, I would say, McGregor could, he could be that guy. Like I said, I think it's going to be 91 and I think it's going to be 32, but it wouldn't be a huge shock. And my money will be on those previous two, but 17 could be in there. If you're looking for another long shot to be to replace Hutchinson or Ojabo, how about TJ Guy? Could be the man in there. Now, you didn't see much from Guy with the exception of that home game against Indiana, where I think he played all 11 of his snaps. I don't know if there were some injury concerns there or not for Mr. Guy, but he could be the guy. How many times is that going to happen here? You like his measurables here, 6'5", 251. I'll have to go back. It was late in that game, that doesn't look good. That Guy got in there against the Hoosiers. But, if you're looking for somebody with an outside chance that could be, lining up and replacing, I would think that this would be the two deep. In fact, this is my two deep. I'll announce it here today at left defensive end, Taylor Upshaw. Right defensive end, rush linebacker, number 32, Jalen Harrell. Backing up Taylor Upshaw at left defensive end, I'm going to put Braden McGregor over there, number 17, and then backing up Harrell over there at the other rush linebacker, I'm going to put TJ Guy. There's your two deep for Michigan and the guys and the candidates to replace Hutchinson and Ojabo. Some other names I put in here and a little bit of an explanation here. Mike Morris, if you're looking at somebody like, Keyshawn Bennett or Chris Jenkins, you're saying, hey, that guy is more of a defensive tackle, or you don't understand, the position of defensive end. You got a point there. Although, Morris does seem like he played more than one position in there. Jenkins too, but it could have been a defensive tackle and it could have been a defensive end in a 3-4. I'll concede that if you're somebody that says that there's no way that these guys are going to play that technique, that they're going to stay, inside as tackles or the defensive end in a 3-4. Okay, I apologize to you. I just wanted to put all of the other names in here that did have a possibility. And Morris was out there at a linebacker, defensive end, standing up at least one of those games. And I don't think Jenkins was, and I don't know. Newberg Rooks got some burn in the Orange Bowl late. I didn't see exactly where he set up. Same thing with Bennett. And, you watch some film of Derek Moore. We're going to watch some film of one of the 22 enrollees, signees, Jimmy Rolder, coming up in a minute. Derek Moore looks like he could play as a freshman. So, a lot of candidates. No player that you're right now saying, oh yeah, that's the next Aidan Hutchinson. Nobody really, like that. But you do have some guys in TJ Guy and Braden McGregor who could really shoot up, could be the starters there in the two deep. And then you got the two guys that had the most experience with Harrell and Upshaw. So have at it when it comes down to that. All right, let's swing it over to the Michigan recruiting spotlight. And for that, we are going to see. Yeah, I'm going to want more of that particular video there. I'm even going to want more. And there he is. Maybe I'll lose this banner. Let's go with the whole thing. Yeah, I like that. There he is, Jimmy Rolder. You see him as a 4-star and a 5.8 rating, 6 overall in his state, 7 at his position. Marist, Chicago, 6'2", 230. What's outstanding here, I watched a couple minutes of Rolder's video. And my favorite one is this first video, and I think we're going to have to go back and even let's just see how big I can make this. I'm going to rewind this first play because it's my favorite. So if I can get a setup here on the first play, maybe I'll go big. And what you're looking at, he's one of these two guys here. When you're looking at a linebacker, you want somebody that's going to come up and give you a pop. And Rolder, this particular play, I think this is him. He comes up and smacks this ball carrier, and I was an instant fan. I love when I turn on the tape. I'm like, all right, well, let's just see what Jimmy Rolder's all about. And then, let's run the tape. Let's see what Jimmy Rolder does here. Come up and woo! He's got big hands and a wide back. I'm going to go ahead and rewind that one more time. Jimmy Rolder, woo! Number 8 for Marist. He'll come down. He's got big hands and a wide back, and he'll give you a pop. And not the kind of pop you're getting at the candy store. Excuse me, he's number 8. That those the first two clips there from Rolder here. He can run and he can tackle. These first 3 you see him at here coming up and making the play. Here he is again. This kid runs like a deer, and he will give you a pop. Yeah, how about blocking him if you're the opponent there? I don't understand that. I know he's a linebacker, but hey, let's keep an eye on number 8. Let's just not let him come running free. Maybe the same thing there. That is out of the 3 or 4 videos that I've watched, just looking at as an impressive film here, a Rolder looks like he's in like 3-speed compared to these high school players. I mean, look at him. He's running down the field here and making the tackle. But the way that he's pouring into the backfield, and then, those first 2 hits, there was just a nice wrap up there. A nice idea, making him as a rush edge. Ooh. Maybe Rolder, you could slide him, talk about him being maybe the outside linebacker here as you watch some of this film. Maybe Jesse Minter's thinking, maybe we can get a true freshman. Maybe we can get Derek Moore, and maybe we can get Jimmy Rolder, put those guys at outside rush linebacker. I thought Rolder would be more of a middle linebacker here, but you watch him, he is rangy, and yeah, he can get upfield. He definitely has that speed that you're looking at here. I mean, just watch this all day long. Ooh! I don't know. What's that guy looking at there? He just threw that ball right to him. Listen, I got to look at that one again. It looked like he threw the ball right to Rolder. Let's see. No, I didn't get back far enough. One more replay on this. All right. What's he doing here? He throws the ball. Yeah, he never saw him. Never saw him. And Rolder, will probably say he never had an easier touchdown. I don't know. I just watched 5 minutes of film from him, but that was pretty easy. Not saying that I could have taken that in. I wouldn't been out on the field to begin with, but he did throw it right in his hands, and he did have to take it back there. But all right. I'd like a better indicator of where he is at on the field. This little like lightning circle doesn't always exactly show me where he's at. There he is again. Okay, I see him coming in. He, while I like those first 2 hits where he just came in and blew up the guy and knocked him ass over tea kettle or whatever else you want to say, and just closing down and just brought the wood. Being able to tackle where you just get to the waist there. Well, he just smacked that guy into the ground, put his weight on him. He's got good form, is what you're looking at here. What it stands out. I didn't see what happened there. This Bears team must have been pretty good. They were just pushing around everybody there. All right. Couple more seconds here. I've enjoyed watching Jimmy so much. Let's see if I can get one more big smack. Here he comes. Maybe a sack. He's playing as a defensive back at linebacker. Not only can he come up, but, get back there in coverage too. That's nice. That's a 3-down linebacker that you're looking at here. Here, he's just going along. Here's the last one. Middle linebacker. Come up. Give me a pop. All right, he wrapped him up. I'll take that. I'll take that from Rolder. I enjoyed the film. I hope you did as well. Little memorabilia minute here today comes from a baseball card. They might not play baseball this year. At this point, I don't care, but one of the Michigan greats. Here he is, this rookie card, Jim Abbott. You know what they say about Jim Abbott here? Abbott won 7 games in 89. That established a record because the amateur draft that came in 65, the standard for most victories by a pitcher advancing directly to the majors from the draft was 6 in 1973. Not until Abbott went out there and got 7. He's a Michigan favorite. In fact, he's an MLB favorite. He have a no-hitter against the Yankees, or for the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. One of the great, memorable performances in Major League history by Michigan's Jim Abbott, who I think in Flint played quarterback as well. Impressive. All right. That's going to do it. Tomorrow, we'll talk Michigan, Iowa. We'll look at another storyline for the Michigan football team as well. And we might have to go to those coordinators. Jim Scarcelli will join us as well. Thanks for watching. And everybody have a great day. See ya.